So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another scene for This Life, set in beautiful Duluth, Minnesota, where here on the Sept of the Hearthfire, the shenanigans of the prior day, the prior evening, have wrapped up. I imagine there's been more than one case of people finding themselves waking up in the damnedest of places with incredible hangovers, some of whom are probably zombie walking their uh, their proverbial walk of shame across Sept back to their homes, back to the or at the very least the public housing. It's always a safe place to crash. So, I suppose the question of the day as we start seeing is how bad was Sylvie off last night after all those Beltane shenanigans? When's she getting up? What's she doing? The public housing does have like an accessible bathroom for everyone, I imagine, and showers and whatnot. They do have like a public, like essentially a big sitting area, a big public, essentially open room. There is a kitchen and whatnot. But yes, what's Sylvie up to this fine morning or afternoon, as the case may be?
Sylvie doesn't look terrible. People obviously heard her howl at dawn. So she was up at least until then. And I imagine she shared a fair number of drinks with Abel and whomever they both managed to pick up. As well as anyone else who decided to join them watching the sunrise. And yeah, so she's not looking terrible. She's slept for most of the morning. She's getting up. She's showered. She looks fairly well put together. Her clothes, they're obviously clothes that were stuffed in a bag that was traveled with. But aside from that, she looks pretty good.
All things told, I imagine that being a little wrinkled is probably a better state than most people are walking around with. Though there's always those one or two people everyone hates that just pop up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed somehow after a night of debauchery. We don't know how they do it. We don't ask. Never ask. So yeah, as she hops up, I assume, does whatever breakfast or hanging out she's gonna do. She let's see, is she gonna wander the sept? Is she gonna just step outside for air? What is Sylvie doing?
Well, what started as a walk, just to get some fresh air and a little bit of morning exercise, has now become, ooh, let's do some exploring, because no one's called for her yet. No one's looking over her shoulder. Um, and she's in a fairly unfamiliar place still that she's going to be staying in, so might as well see what it's got to offer.
There is quite a bit to offer. And actually, I mean, I will just point out that there is the oncept locations there for you as far as various places she could wander. Places that she'll see building wise of interest is not too far from the public housing. I imagine right around the proverbial corner is the Old Bark Beer Garden, which is a place usually staffed up by kin, but it's where people can kind of gather up to drink and do whatever they do. But it's decidedly outdoors. Oh, why has my connection been interrupted? That's unfortunate. There's the joint housing. There's a small, very old school hut set off one way that I assume for the moment is completely uninhabited. There is something of a makeshift camp, actually a very well established little camp by the lake. There's off in one direction just this motley of outrageous color up around the high clearing. And there are several cabins and homes, one of which is, a house right up alongside the lake, right on the edge. Big old place. But there is a lot going on. But as she's wandering her way around among the other buildings that kind of decorate the park. If nothing else, one of them is quite lively. The big garage door has been flung open, and this is slamming out from the building because fuck it, Charlotte, do what you want. Here's your link.
Ooh.
There are two cars pulled up alongside, one of which has obviously. I mean, they're both used, they're not brand spanking new, though one is in some pretty tip top shape. It looks like it's actually been, like, handled and worked on and buffed out and is a bit hardier looking and a bit better cared for than the other. The garage door is open, and of all things, there is a bike pulled in. In fact, I think I have a picture. Maybe. Yeah, that is pulled in.
Ooh. So, music is one of those things that draws the theurge, kind of like a moth to the flame. And considering the doors are open, the music's playing, there's a few cars and a motorcycle. Yeah, she'll wander on up, poke her nose in, see what's going on.
And Adrian or no, Charlotte still has a distinct amount of personality. So you wander up, the music's kind of like it's not blaring across the entire set, but it's going pretty hard for inside the building. She's got it cranked up. And Charlotte is there. Head kind of bopping along, shoulders jiving along. And at the moment is leaned over one of the little side tables. There's a number of tools pulled out. There's, a stained rag stuffed in her rear pocket. But there's a laptop popped up on that little desk, and she's leaned over it, just kind of bobbing and scrolling through something or another. Finally stands up, eyeballs for a second, squints, and yeah, snags yet another tool and whirls to go back at the bike. Which is probably about where you finally get, like, recognition that there's another person there.
Sylvie will just wave. Hello, Raya.
Yeah, she will, of all things, probably pull a little remote out of her pocket to crank down the music the slightest bit. It's just kind of the yo.
And there's the the slow drop onto the knees.
And yeah, Charlotte will let her get down there, get properly into position before she kind of just nods and gives the little gesture with a wrench of all things. Socket wrench. Just kind of like, yeah, all right, we're good. Come on.
Yeah, Sylvie will get up. I didn't realize you were a mechanic.
And there's kind of a waffle of the head. It tips back and forth as she comes back over and plunks down next to the bike where the casing's been pulled off. And she's basically getting at them guts, as it were. She plonks down on the ground, starts kind of eyeballing, following various lines and hoses. Oh, I wouldn't say I do it professionally.
But it is a skill you possess.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's funny. I always think your folks are kind of nuts, but it really is fucking satisfying to stick your hands in something and put it together. She says this as she just kind of finally pops off something, wrenches it out, and kind of flicks it over her shoulder, like, nope, that is. Nope.
I couldn't say I'm as well acquainted with that, but yes, it is satisfying to make something with your own hands.
There's kind of a shrug. I mean, making's making, right?
Exactly.
So you look pretty good for the kind of pauses. Pulls out her phone, clicks it on, clicks it off. Afternoon after Beltane.
Oh, I am very well rested and highly satisfied. Don't
Highly.
celebrations like that back home don't usually get quite as rowdy. It's a good way to let off some steam. And as it turns out, Abel's pretty good company.
Where are you? Cracks a
Or
grin, glancing over.
at least drinking company.
And let it be known that, again, Adrian or no, the music is this, and the T-shirt is maybe a bit stained, but I mean, let's face it, Charlotte's going style is generally best dubbed basic as fuck. There's zero shame involved, but yeah, it's some like obnoxiously kind of trendy T-shirt that she has nonetheless worn into the garage. It has been a sacrifice for the greater good.
So the music changes, and Sylvie kind of starts bobbing her head. So, how long have you been expecting me?
There's a glance back and a broad smile. She reaches up and taps the side of her nose, naturally leaves a small smudge there. That'd be telling. And I mean, it's one of those kind of broad, mischievous smiles, pretty openly so.
That would be telling, yes. But it's still a question.
I'll exchange you a question for a question.
All right.
How long in advance did you know you were coming?
Just enough time to get my bags packed and arrive today.
And I admittedly found out about a grand total of, 10 minutes of meeting you?
Oh boy. Hmm.
But even a short term heads up is a heads up.
I suppose so.
And yeah, she picks up another part, probably one to replace the one she just flicked over her shoulder. That is bound for the garbage. She, carefully goes about making sure it's set in.
I guess I sort of figured since I got the call from my uncle and you said you were expecting me, it was something that had been known for a while. Or at least been being worked on for a while.
She heaves a shrug. For all I know, it was.
That's fair.
Oh, fuck it. We'll throw this one in next because it's funny. It comes on and Charlie gets just the quirkiest little smirk. He'll idly mouth the bits of the wording, or bits of the lyrics as she's still bopping her head. And yeah, it seems to entertain her in particular more than the other two. But no, communication between seps is still, she kind of wobbles a hand. At the discretion of the one who might or might not be sending information. But still, it's good to have friends.
Oh, it's very good to have friends.
And it's good to know there's faith enough that they'll send. They're up and comers. Kind of gives her a little up and down gesture with the socket wrench before starting to hoist herself up again.
Oh no, I don't know if I would call myself an up and comer. I'm effective.
Well, I'd hope so. You already have high praise. Now you've got to live up to it. She kind of shrugs. I don't make the rules. Snags the rag out of her back pocket, starts wiping her hands off again.
And still pretty fresh, actually. It's only been something like 6 months, maybe less.
Long enough to have at least a half decent idea of what you're doing, and not so long that you've gotten the idea that there's anything you can't do. It's a good time
Yeah,
to be
it's
at.
kind of a magical place, huh?
Yeah, she just kind of nods. I mean, and it's reasonably serious. You get the impression she's pretty sincere about it. It's kind of perfect point in. Yeah, it really is kind of a perfect point in your ideal potential. Eventually, it's like kids learning. Sooner or later, you'll decide there's something you're not good at, and that gets hedged off to the side. Sooner or later, you'll decide there's one thing that you're good at, and you'll focus in on it. But right now, again, she just kind of gives an idle gesture. She goes back and finally glances at the screen again, scrolling a little bit, and kind of humphing. But right now, it's perfect open potential.
More
And
or
if the
less.
high praise is any kind of indication, hopefully you'll realize as much of it as possible.
High praise
Hmm.
from Jasper. That's something. That's definitely something.
Yeah, she's wearing, again, just kind of a borderline mischievous smirk as it's. Like I said, young up and comer and being sent over to represent. It's no small thing.
No, it's a big thing.
Now, how do you feel about it? Riley turns to glance at her so she can study that face.
I'll feel better when there aren't quite as many eyes on me.
She says as I roll peony.
What is Charlotte looking for?
Charlotte is eyeballing to see how well she's doing. Like it. I mean, it's one thing to know that all that's out there, but to have it kind of said tends to be kind of a brutal truth. So she's glancing over to see if there's telling signs of like stress or fear or tension, like tightness in the shoulders, certain tightness in the face.
There's definitely tension in her shoulders and in her jaw also. I don't know that I would call it I don't know that I would call it stress, but she seems fairly tense.
And she again, glances over, gives a bit of a shrug as she stands. Finally, very carefully, like pulls the socket off of the socket wrench, puts it precisely back where it goes, sets the handle back. Again, she pulls open the drawer, and it's one of those things where it's like, yep, there's a glass walker that runs this garage now because everything has a place and everything goes in its place as soon as it's done being used. You see her even like wipe the thing off a bit with the towel before she tucks it away. I think you'll find here that the eyes are either very direct or very, very indirect. It's a bit of a different experience, at least compared to what I saw back in Wisconsin.
Ah, you've been.
Mm,
So you know Falcon's eyes are always watching.
is that whose they were? Grinning.
That's what they
Goes back
say.
over to like pop the case back on the motorcycle.
Goes double when you're a young Theurge. Especially in a sept like that. So many spirits.
Yeah, no joke. There's actually kind of like that moment where she kind of like gets that little distant look, like, ugh. Kicks a leg over the bike, goes ahead and turns it on just so she can coast it out. And yeah, this isn't like a Harley. It doesn't fucking rumble loud enough to shake the building. It's significantly smaller. In fact, actually, does Sylvie have any real idea about like bikes and what's this or that and the impressions they give?
Not particularly. Like, she knows they're big, loud, and one of the preferred mode of transportations for many get. Um, that's about it.
Well, I'll put it this way: if she's seen Get rolling around on bikes, this one's a bit smaller than what most of them are using. It's not as quite as big and fucking proud and raw, but it's nonetheless kind of a cruising bike. So it's still something you can take a little seriously, especially if you don't know any better. Meanwhile, Charlotte knows this is a starter bike. This is a baby bike, but that's okay. She loves it. It was her baby. But yeah, she'll roll it out and park it up beside the cars. Kind of squint at the more clean of the two, the more kind of pristine and worked up of the two for a moment before wandering back in. All the same, I'm sure you'll adapt just fine. Little hand wave. Finally
Oh
goes over
yeah,
and there is a sink, so.
I don't want to say the sept is more relaxed because, well, there's some very traditional families here, but it's
Oh yeah,
not. The air is different here.
definitely.
It's not. I don't know how to describe it. Have you ever been in a house that's been closed up for a bit? You know, you've
Oh
been out
yeah.
of town for a while, you come in and the air just feels stale.
Yeah, there's kind of a moment where she kind of scrunches her nose, like, man. But continues finally washing her arms, like, her hands, her arms up to the elbow, etc. I'm familiar.
Coming here is like leaving that. And going outside. It's a breath of fresh air.
She actually kind of flicks a glance over her shoulder with a smirk, like, "Are you serious?" It's one of those things where it's did you really? Did you just?
Yes, she did just.
Shakes her head a bit, finishes washing her arms. Towels off with a clean towel this time, flicks the dirty one into a bucket, and of all the things, kind of saunters over to, okay, back here, yep, there's my bag, and just straight up like flips her shirt off and pulls another one on that is not oil stained. And she's got at least what, a good two more scars going on her front. Doesn't make a big to do about it. It's just one of those things where it's like, you have also got the boobies. This is not a big deal. Just kind of flips
Hmm.
the shirt off and tugs on another. She's got one that's a little shallower, just kind of crosses down the body, and then kind of a gnarly one up, kind of just above the cleavage and off to one side, I believe it is. Or actually, it may have been just below and off to one side. That looks like a pretty heinous stab wound. But yeah, she just tucks the new shirt on. It'll be different, but it'll be interesting to see how well you adapt. Right in the biddies. It's not right in one of her biddies. Hi.
Sylvie, well, I think I got a good feel for some things last night.
And what have you sussed out so far? She finally just kind of leans on the counter. Like, it's one of those things like almost a teacher talking to a student. Like, tell me what you've learned.
Sylvie will she'll plop down and get comfortable, start counting things off on her fingers.
Yeah, there's seats and stuff around. She doesn't have to hit the floor if she doesn't want to. Though, if she's comfortable sitting on a concrete floor, she can.
Well, let's see. Um, there's the typical tensions between the Get and the Furies, but there seem to be a couple firebrands that intensify things.
It's a very
Regardless
politically correct kind of vague.
regardless of the tensions between the two families, the Ulrichsons and the Trimbusons are both here and seem to be able to work well enough with each other.
And she just kind of, all right, nods.
Not exactly sure what's going on between the Bonars and the Fianna, aside from the usual.
Haley's a fairly recent addition to the sept, and prior to that, Red Eye was the only Bonar. And in case you hadn't noticed, she kind of gestures up to the side of her face. Just a vague kind of one side gesture. He's not the Fianna's favorite kind of person.
Oh, yes. I caught wind of that.
Hmm. And as far as I know, no other tension besides that.
She's very almost overly friendly and timid at the same time, is the impression I got from her.
From who?
Haley. Of course, it could have just been the number of Fianna that were around there and the fact that she was with Red Eye, but she used me as a shield to get some drink and asked if she wouldn't mind sharing some of my food. So I can say at least she has some kind of survival instinct.
And yeah, Charlotte will, like, for all you know what? It's Charlotte. There's probably a mini fridge in here. She just, like, reaches down behind one of the cabinets, comes back with a bottle of Gatorade. Because you know what? She's putting on a good act, but she drank too. She is just not even remotely shy of better living through modern chemistry. So look forward to seeing you suss it out. And she takes a swig and then kind of pauses, glances over, kind of tips the bottle. Want one?
Sure.
Yeah, she'll
If
reach
you
down
don't
again.
mind. Sylvie will take the Gatorade and kind of make a face like, "Whoa, that's sweet." Um,
She
Lily.
kind of makes a face at it, and Charlotte just kind of mumbles to herself, "Electrolytes is what plants crave." Swigs out of her Gatorade again.
I don't usually drink such sweet things.
Really? What do you usually drink? Water? Oh, it's not that serious. Jesus, I'd hate to see you
Water,
get a soda.
water or tea, usually.
Unsweetened tea?
Hmm.
The most appropriate, but most boring of tea? Grinning still.
Uh, well, herbal teas are. Some of them just taste like ass, but
She actually kind of sputters into the Gatorade. This is like about half a second from having been a spit take.
they're helpful for working with spirits.
Oh, yeah. I hear those don't taste the best, but kind of puts up the little the little okay symbol with the fingers like, but I hear it works great.
the Everyone seems to have their own. I don't know if I would say pack, although I'm sure there's plenty of packs here. But
Okay.
everyone seems to have their own tight knit group. We know where their loyalties lie.
Kind of displays the hands. In the end, we're all the same sept, right? Of course, there are packs that are closely knit, and there are packs that have taken a liking to each other, and people who've grown up together. A lot of the people here came up in the same gaggle of cubs, or came to the sept in groups.
Like me and Remy. Not that we came together, but arrived at the same time.
And I will be very surprised if you don't end up marching around together. It's just kind of what people do. Group up with the people who had something in common. And in your case, kind of points. Showed up the same day. You know about the same amount. I imagine you'll be conspiring in no time.
Never thought I'd be conspiring with an Olsen boy, but
Kind of finally stands up a bit. People do the damnedest things around here.
that's how things turn out. That's not a bad thing.
Well, the last Olsen I met was definitely a man worth knowing. And the two Iversons I know well are also people worth knowing.
Oh, who'd you know?
I'm familiar with your uncle. She tips on the one finger. And just to make sure I'm not full of poop, pretty sure I'm not. Oh god, there's so many folders. There we go. And of course, she tips the other finger. Cole's still resting up, but here.
Cole.
I'm assuming she kind of squints thoughtfully. Probably a cousin of yours?
Trying to think.
He's your cousin. I can tell you that. He's your first cousin.
Ah,
Yep, I'm betting cousin.
yeah, I'm sure we've met. I can't put a face to the name. Hmm.
Sadly, most of the generic descriptors I can give would cover at least half of the get offenders I know. So, kind of shrugs. Architect?
Sylvie nod, just kind of nod. Well, you meet a bunch of family once or twice, and a family as big as mine, you're bound to not recognize some of them, even if you know the name.
Again, Charlotte just kind of offers a shrug because, let's face it, she doesn't have much of a basis for comparison. I'm sure you'll see him around sooner or later. He's kind of set up now with a bad leg after what happened lately, but I'm sure he'll be up and able soon enough. He's being very carefully taken care of. The ah, little bit of a grid there, a little bit extra.
I assume by Trimbusons or other family here.
He's got good friends that are looking after him.
She'll nod.
Exactly so. Blarney noises. Please tell me Maria's actually just rolling around in the little mini car.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be a pause as she kind of flicks a glance past Sylvie for like just a moment and finally kind of starts smirking because, god damn it, Maria is a beautiful creature, a majestic beast in her element now that her mini car is fixed after the tragic accident. Probably only still functional because they didn't bring it out last night.
Yep.
So, how much have you heard about what's going on here before you came walking in?
I didn't get a lot of specifics, but I know the gist.
The gist?
You've had trouble with some spirals. You were instrumental in helping Wolf's Maw. Um, didn't get that much detail from Uncle Signaled. Just said that there'd be Trumbusons I could learn from and her numbers on the Sept were not quite what he'd like them to be.
The numbers.
Well, we don't have much of a presence here, do we?
We as in the Trimbusons.
We as in the Iversons.
No, no. And I can say, I can't feel that I would ever need to turn away an Iverson.
See, I don't know if you know this about us, but usually when we meet each other, there's a warm, hearty greeting and a exchanging of tales.
I can believe it.
I'm here, and I have yet to hear any tales. Of course, it could just be that people haven't run into me yet.
You mean you as in the Iversons?
I mean, me as in me.
Oh. I'm better at bullet points than stories.
I'm not a Theurge, but I can tell a.
Not a Galliard, I hope she means.
God damn! I just said I'm not a Theurge, didn't I? And I
Yeah,
am.
the eyebrows just kind of like, really?
Not a Galliard, but I can spin a yarn as good as most Theurges.
Yeah, there's like a pause and the eyebrow quirk as she kind of glances up. Oh, there's Viking on the wind.
Ah, yes, that distinct scent.
Distinct.
Smells of Viking. It just echoes throughout the fucking thing. Yeah.
Charlie ain't mad.
I mean, if you go out to look, I'm assuming, right?
Oh yeah, she'll finally wander out, keep the Gatorade bottle dangling from her hand, and poke her head out.
They're like walking around the corner. You can see Felix, Ragnar, and these two boys.
Ooh.
They're all like walking like in tandem beside each other, and like Ragnar's like, "Are you sure she's not going to notice that we're going into the garage?" And he's like, "She shouldn't be up by now. I don't remember her being up anyway. We can, we have a few hours."
There is such a smile. And Charlotte just props herself up. I mean, Sylvie can see just the shit-eating grin, and she's like, "Oh, really?" And just kind of props herself up in a nice little lean just around the corner in that horrible fucking spot that startles the shit out of people. Just waiting.
You can hear like Sylvia hear the other two. Like one is very distinctively Minnesotan. He's like, "Oh well, I don't want to be intruding on your wife." And the other one, who's got a lot colder voice to him, he's like, "Yeah, that just gets awkward, especially when they stare." Well, what kind of wives have you had? I've had four. How the fuck did you have four wives? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you actually will see the stop. All the four of them stop, and like Felix, like, "You had four wives." Well, there was three technically. The fourth is it's a negotiating process. Wagner's like, "What's the fuck's the negotiating process?" As they all start walking in. And yeah, Sylvie, you're meted by these two and these two. The one with the kind of silverish, like shock blonde hair, that's the pure breed 4 one. The Ragnar has pure breed 2, and these two have pure breed 3. Just distinctly Viking, you know what I mean? And they all kind of stop and stare at you like, "Oh, female." You know what I mean?
I just love that Sylvie's the one standing in the open and Charlotte's on the corner, and because Sylvie's there, they're not.
Yeah, Sylvie will stand and greet them. She'll just offer a polite little bow with a show of throat.
Ragnar's like,
Oh,
"Hello."
good afternoon, Rise. Can I help you?
We were just coming in to use the garage for a bit. And got some, the points of the bikes.
And rate on my oil.
Yeah, Felix jumps about a mile, like, oh, fuck, bumps into, like, Ragnar. Do you know what I mean? Ragnar's like, oh!
Fucking Scooby Doo's it.
Ragnar does the karate, like, you know. These two people just fucking stare.
Sylvia will just offer them a smile. Oh, well, don't let me stop you then.
You know, the blonde one kind of gives you that, hey, girl. As he's walking by, you know, like, cracking his knuckles as he's just walking. It's pretty much the look in the picture, like, hey, do you know what I mean?
You know, she will smile and say, "Oh, forgive me. I don't believe I've introduced myself yet."
Oh, no. Don't be worried.
Sylvie Iverson, Crescent Moon of the Get of Fenris, Fleeth of
Oh,
the nation, known as Blood on Snow.
it gives it like a cheery, like, oh, your guru. Oh, excellent. Do you know what I mean? Adrian Eagleson gives a big firm shake of the hand. I'm a kinfolk, by the way, but, you know, hello.
Oh, you know, she'll give him, she'll return his handshake. Nice to meet you.
Oh, it's lovely to meet you. Looks over. You must be Charlotte. Hello. Walks over and starts shaking her hand as well.
Hey, yeah, Charlotte will pop up from her lane and, yeah, come over to greet properly. Yes, indeed, I am. And yeah, gives him a good solid handshake.
Yeah, he turns back and, you know, he's wearing the jacket. He's not completely shirtless, but the jacket's the only thing covering him, essentially. Like, you know what I mean? He has no shirt on, you know, just covered in tattoos. He just nods and shakes hands with both of you at the same time.
At the same
Mm-hmm. Big, happy, cheery smile on his face.
time.
Then this guy just gives you the kind of respectful, you know, like, Raya, you know what I mean? The other one, the darker one, he'll just say his name is, excuse me, Ingram Closen.
Pleasure?
Indeed,
Nice to
Ryan.
meet you.
Nods politely. He just stands, you know, there. Not awkwardly, just very like, You know what I mean? Well, Charlotte has interacted with the Closens, and you've heard about the Closens. I'll put it like that. These people are very stoic. You know what I mean?
She'll offer her hand.
I respectfully shake it. Ragnar will look over and fix. Well, introduce yourself. Jesus, fuck. He'll just go, oh, yeah, sorry. You know, give Charlotte like the shoulder bump. Felix Trimberton. I'm a kinfolk as well.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Felix. And she'll extend her hand and shake it warmly.
Hey, shakes it. He is out of all the men here, he's probably the most handsome. I'll put it like this: he's appearance 4 and pure breed 4. That is whoa. Do you know what I mean? But you definitely reckon the distinct Trimberton traits off him, the ice cold eyes, the you know what I mean. He just shakes your hand. He seems to have a pleasant like candor about him.
Not met many of your family yet. Though I did meet Lily last night.
All the boys look at each other, and Felix just nods. I said that was an experience.
It was. It was something.
Like I said, it was probably an experience. Smile very, you know, pleasantly. My cousin
Yes,
is a very unique one.
she is absolutely enchanting.
Now looks over at Eagle and gives him a nudge. No, right, Eagle, enchanting. You know what I mean? Smirking over at Adrian, and Adrian's like, yes, she's enchanting. Looks off into the distance.
But we're both Theurges, so
Just gives
that
a
may have
nod.
something to do with it.
I mean, you're both the freaky people that go into the freaky place and do the freaky things, so I'm not going to dispute that.
There's a look on Sylvie's face, like she just kind of leans in, like, oh yes.
Yep, no, I believe it. If you're going to be hanging around Lily, believe you me, next thing you know, you'll be coming back at me out of the water and just staring at me, so I'm ready.
Well, I'd be delighted to get better acquainted with some water spirits. Mostly spent time with the loons.
Felix
Down
just
in
gives a
Ragnar.
nod, like, "Yep, that's hmm."
Third stuff.
Ragnar lean in. There's things, Felix. Ooh, does that like hand gesture in front of his face? And Ragnar will kind of shoulder bump Felix out of the way, so Felix like dunks against the wall, like, ugh. Ragnar Carlo.
Nice to meet you.
Cleoth Ragabash, known to the nation as Born in the Snow.
Born in the snow.
Oh yeah, no, you'll find out why in the battlefield.
I imagine so.
Nods. I don't know. You haven't met Bones yet. Oh, thank God. Ooh,
Haven't been wet yet?
you haven't met Bones. He's one of us. He's a menace.
No, I
He's
don't
in
believe I have.
he's in Arun, one of our tribe, one of the tribe. He's a pretty cool guy. He's my partner. But
Ah,
just you'll know.
well, I can safely say I haven't met him.
Yeah, one of the two boys nods behind them, and they'll just go. I once saw him tore a man's arm off. It was quite the spectacle.
That sounds like an Arun.
Just the
Mm.
thoughtful frown of like, yeah, I can believe that.
Mm. And then Felix is like, "Oh, you're up. Oh, shit."
Mm.
Well, me and the boys were doing some things. We were hoping the garage was free. Evidently not, seeing as you two are, I'm assuming, talking about guru business.
We can
Heh.
leave the garage.
Oh, no, it's fine, it's fine.
She just kind of gestures out to where she's parked up the bike. It's like, I'm good.
Okay, no, it's fine. Don't want to get in the way of your guru business. Just kind of slides behind across from her.
It's getting kind of that little squint of like, it's the what were you actually gonna do in the garage?
Right, all you could literally see all the Ragnar and the other two just go, "Yep, guru business." You walking in after Felix.
Yeah, she just kind of squints after him. Yes. Hmm.
They actually close the door. Just,
There's that slow pull down at the garage door. Tell me Felix
wait.
is doing it.
Yeah, he is. He's just like slowly pulling it down. It's like, "You two girls have fun now. See you later, honey."
You know what? She's gonna do it. She can't resist. She doesn't know if this will actually embarrass him in front of his friends, but it's worth trying. She'll be like, "Oh, I'll see you later, honey," and like come in and like give him the big hug down to force it out so she can get the big smack of a kiss on the cheek, and then let him pull the garage door down.
You can just hear
Like, here, have some PDA.
you can just hear the one. I think it's Adrian going, "Oh, shut the fuck up." Like an argument thing goes on inside. Ragnar's like, guys, if he wants to be let him be the bitch to his girlfriend. Jesus, guys.
So it's just kind of like, wow, that was bold.
It's kind of a glance back as the garage door finally like kind of tunks against the ground. It's like, oh, you haven't even begun to see bold.
I imagine not. Though, I guess on a step like this, I guess I wouldn't be surprised you'd take up with the Getkin.
Oh, she's still listening, especially if they're being loud. A garage door only insulates so much. It's like, I could go in there. Shrugs. Well, now that we've been supplanted, at least I still have my Gatorade. Kind of squints a glance back at the door. I better not do anything crazy with my laptop. Ooh. Oh, getting brutal. before that fist fight breaks out, I'm just gonna.
Yeah,
Yep.
that seems like a good
Just
idea.
starts walking.
Yeah, nope, Sylvie just right behind Charlotte because that is a Tribuson boy. A Tribuson kin boy.
Oh no! There's a pause mid stride, like oh, like you see Charlotte's head kind of cant back, like oh.
Oh shit.
Yeah, you can hear it breaking down. Like, what the fuck's you saying? You know what I mean? They're like, guys. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, no, there they go. Yep,
They
that's
just
that.
like, that's right, Felix. You hit like a bitch anyway. You know what I mean? You're lucky I can't do anything because you're kinfolk and I'm a guru, so technically handicapped, Felix. Ugh.
He's getting his face punched in. Jesus.
He did like he punches him back or what at least once, but he's like, "Oh, I'm Felix and I have that." That's what Ragnar is doing. So much levels of sassiness.
Ragnar's a delight like that. Yep.
Oh yeah, no. Felix starts a fight, but he has an agent as a girlfriend, and his wife's the most terrifying woman on the planet. His mother is the most terrifying woman on the planet. Oh, I can hit whatever I like. You know what I mean? He's doing that shit.
Just thoughtful look and trying so hard not to laugh. Kind of sputtering.
Are we gonna plan this bank robbery or not? That's what you hear then.
Wait, what?
Are we gonna plan this robbery or not?
And there's just kind of a glance aside. Shrugs. I won't stop you.
This is really something I would expect from an entirely different family.
Families are made up of individuals. Reach over to like ruffle her hair. Like, oh, you. Kind of glance over to see if Maria's managed to get herself stuck in a ditch or something yet.
Maria is traipsing along, yelling at people like, "Motherfucker, me!"
Neat.
It's pretty much what it's like. You'll see her just belligerently chatting to somebody though.
Really? Was she belligerently chattering at? Oh, Lord.
She's just belligerently chatting at her, just moving so fucking fast.
Please tell me she is also in the little car.
It's probably what's hilarious because she's pointing quite aggressively at things and Aileen just like doesn't know what to do because it's hilarious, but she doesn't want to laugh because if she laughs, she'll get out of the car and beat the shit out of her.
Oh, boy. Just finally glance back at the garage, like, I really hope they ran that past literally anyone.
That would be wise.
Yeah, she sticks the hand in her pocket, but we'll leave it there for the moment. Probably continue walking, because, ooh, that is... I mean, at least they'll have Ragnar. That's good.
Still, though, you think it's something we might want to keep an eye on?
I am in the habit of not necessarily asking the boys how they get a hold of what they get a hold of. Gotten in trouble so far. Hmm. And she finally gives up and pulls the phone out of her pocket. What? Oh, God. It's like, she just shoots a message that says, please tell me that anyone of rank knows what you boys are up to in case things go wrong.
Message back. What are you on about? Me and the boys are just playing Scrabble.
Pixar didn't happen.
There's a picture. It's just the
Please tell me they actually have a Scrabble board.
Yeah. Each making a gang sign in front of the Scrabble board.
There's like Charlotte literally stops walking to just look in shock as she gets her bluff called. Like, oh, holy shit! They actually have a Scrabble board. Who just carries around a Scrabble board?
Adrian takes Scrabble. This is a mess back. Adrian takes Scrabble very seriously.
There's like such a long pause that it sits red as she just stares. She'll even show it to Sylvie, like, they actually. I mean, I obviously don't believe them for a second, but they actually have a Scrabble board.
Huh.
She texts back, I could literally hear you.
To give it away, there's a metric ton of guns in the back. It's like guns. There's a plan. There's a like. I mean, they planned this thing out, but that is a mess. Though, oh, that's an AK. Oh,
So
oh.
six words like, so for one, I could hear you. For two, you kind of included the gun pile and the. I mean, okay, that's actually a pretty good approximation of a map. I won't say crudely drawn, that'd just be mean.
But you just mess back, relax, Lena's in on it as well. She's one arranging it.
Yeah, at which point she says, sounds good.
Yeah, just messes back the thumbs up.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming all is well.
Yep, we're good.
That was a lot of guns for a game of Scrabble.
You know, they play heavily armed Scrabble. It's a local variant. Sage nods.
Never heard of it. Of course, I never played many board games.
Kind of like a really brutal combination of Scrabble and Russian roulette.
There's a few games we.
Ooh.
Ugh.
Ugh. Katie, what are you doing?
I'm cloning. No, my net hiccuped in a really scary way.
There's a few board games that are, common, like tic-tac-toe, checkers, chess. But
Tic-tac-toe really count as a board game?
well, it does if you play it on a board with bean bags.
I guess.
But, there's a few we just don't touch.
Like
Clue, Monopoly, Scrabble, Life. Really anything with small pieces that could be jammed into somebody's eye or nose or
Uno?
See, here's the thing about Uno.
I feel like it gets very competitive very fast.
It does.
I
And
feel like that could escalate pretty quickly.
you wouldn't think you could do a lot of damage with Uno, but fuck. Paper cuts hurt. Especially when there's an Arun pinning you down given one because he had a great hand and then everybody hit him with a draw 4. But you started it, so now you get to taste the paper. Family dinners are fun. Or at least get dinners.
I do hear they get really intriguing really fast.
I mean, see, the smart thing to do is to always serve the dinner on the fine china. That way, everyone knows they need to be on their best behavior, and if they're not, well. You'd be surprised the amount of damage a kinfolk with a wooden spoon could do.
You know, I don't think I could be.
Oh, but don't worry, your fiance's at Chimbuson. I'm sure you'll get to experience the magic of a Get family reunion before too long.
Oh, I got to enjoy Thanksgiving. It was thrilling.
Oh, you had Thanksgiving. How did
Mm,
that go?
pretty well, I think, all things considered.
It's not really Thanksgiving until somebody gets too drunk and says exactly what's on their mind, or furniture goes through a window, or the next morning when you're patching up holes in the wall. That's when you know it was a good Thanksgiving.
Hmm, yeah, I'd say so.
It's not violence or anything, just the typical family competitions getting out of hand. Had
Sounds downright wholesome.
I used to spend Thanksgiving with the Redmonds. There was a cub around my age named Jessie, and see, one year she got it in her head that she was exactly as strong as any of her brothers, and no one could convince her otherwise, and she proved it by picking up the couch and then losing control of the couch and going through the front window with the couch.
Ah, I'm sure there were no consequences for that. Oof, kind of rubs the face.
Oh, Lewis was mad.
Wait, Lewis? Kind of glances.
I think that's his name.
Wait, who did this?
Uh, Jesse.
Like, there's a moment where, like, it's so clear that she is, like, consulting the internal Rolodex. It's kind of funny. Jesse.
I don't know that you would have met her when you were down there. You didn't meet me, and I was a cub.
Fair point. Just, I was trying to decide if it was someone I knew. Well, that's a shame. I've heard about Lewis, though.
He's a good man.
It's just kind of a helpless shrug. I'll have to take your word for it.
Did a lot for me and mine back in the day. Or so I'm told. I don't really remember it.
They're close to the Redmonds.
Well, about as close as you can get.
It's a vague shrug. I mean, naturally. No, I just knew one of them. I was back with one of them.
Really?
Alice.
I mean, there's tension between them and one of the other families, but, well, you could say that about everyone there, really.
Literally every family that I have ever met, pretty much. Yeah.
But, I heard from my dad, he, got a bunch of his people out near where we live when my cousin went missing in the woods. trying to find
cousin.
him. Oh yeah, they
What happened to
didn't.
your cousin?
Don't know. They never found him.
No trace?
No trace.
It's kind of a bit of a scrunch to the face. Kind of like, essentially that's unpleasant. And by the way, when she rubs her face a lot when she's thinking, especially. She's always rubbing the clear side. She doesn't tend to rub the scarred side.
Mhm.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah. But Quarter Wisconsin's always been home to me.
Gonna miss the big sparkling castle?
Gonna miss the big sparkling castle. Gonna miss the loons. Gonna miss a lot of people there.
I'm sorry we didn't meet when I came to visit. Admittedly, there was a fairly large negotiation taking place. I got the impression the Cleiths and lower ranked had been sent out.
Probably.
It's a shame. Missed opportunity. But here we are. She just kind of like gestures idly towards the lake.
So we are here.
Mm-hmm.
And was wondering about a couple things.
There are things I can answer and there are things I can't, but I can't stop you from asking. Well, I suppose I technically could, but how does that propagate learning?
What's the Umbra like around here? Not necessarily in the sept, but outside.
There's a scrunch face that happens. Well, on Sept, I imagine it's about what you would expect with so many Theurges, and off Sept, it's a city. But there are things happening. She kind of glances. You should speak to the right master about some of the spirits and what's been going on. I would say, at least for the moment, stay away from the north side of the city, at least in the Umbra, and stay well away from the docks in the Umbra.
I'll make a point of that. I need to speak to him anyway, apparently. Or at
Always a good
least
plan.
that's what Lily advised me to do.
Fresh Theurge on a new Sept? Not many better to ask.
So it sounds like maybe some Moonglow Talons would be useful.
There's kind of a curious look.
Sylvia will reach into her bag. She'll pull out a small crystal.
I'm not familiar.
Oh, they're one of the first Talons I learned to make. Of course, all the loon spirits there, they're pretty easy.
What's their purpose?
They help keep you safe in the Umbra. They don't
Do they?
they don't ward away everything. There's some things that are too powerful for a Talon to stop, but they can help see you safely to your destination, and once you're there, well, Shit can hit the fan.
Still, being able to travel safely is not a small thing. I've encountered plenty of difficulty moving from point A to point B.
I only brought one with me.
Now, but you've
Oh,
brought along the knowledge of how to make them.
I did. I think I've got a couple. I think I still have some materials to make them, and I already need to make more Gaia's breath. Hoy.
Should you happen across my third, Melanthe, I would consider it a kindness if you would ensure that she knows how to make those.
Oh, certainly. I'll keep an eye out.
She's a fury. Just nods.
I see. Well, then I shall approach the matter with all the tact and grace I can muster.
It's a bit of a smirk. A wry little smile.
Especially after yesterday, last night.
In the defense of the Furies, one of them was lost the day before Beltane.
Oh,
We weren't able to recover the body.
I'm sorry, I didn't know. That, wow, that was shockingly dumb.
Pardon? Ah, what was said?
Yeah.
Hmm. She does not cheat so tactically. Like, in a way that Sylvie will totally recognize. It's just kind of that, man, look at how hard I am not commenting on that.
Yep. Sylvie knows that.
Sylvie sees right through that shit. It's fucking classic. She was a packmate of mine.
Oh, well, I'm sorry for your loss then.
So, honestly, a faint shrug. It doesn't get easier. But I've lost numerous packmates. And in the end, she may not have come home, but because of what she did, I came home. And two of the kinfolk were recovered on the mission. Cole was one of them.
Recovered from what exactly?
You know what? She finally kind of gestures and kind of pats at a picnic table as they get, around to one of those nice little scenic places where it's close enough to the lake that you could walk over and put your feet in the water if you really wanted to, but far enough that you're not like, the table isn't going to rot if the water rises type thing. She sets herself down.
Yep.
So you haven't been told any of what's happening here.
Not a lot of detail, no.
Alright, remember I said bullet points as opposed to stories. She
Mm-hmm.
sets herself down and sticks out a finger. While they are currently effectively in remission, in a way, there is still the remaining half of a pack of spirals that, as far as I can tell, have retreated under the city. So not such a prominent threat now, but certainly one that has caused the loss of well over 30 kinfolk and a number of crew. As well as just outright gruesome mutilation and mistreatment of kin that were recovered. They have been harrying us since I was a fresh Cleith. Kind of looks over. These aren't the nameless spirals that you hear about in your stories where so and so slew 5 and so and so slew 10. They're very cunning. They're very capable. And they are no small threat. But for the moment, as I said, in proverbial remission. He ticks off the next finger. The most current threat is that there is an invading force of Gru from another sept that have been pressing our borders, pressing our protectorate, invading it. They attacked a number of our Gru and Kindon businesses, properties, attacked several lone Gru, kidnapped 2, and kidnapped a number of kinfolk. We decided to get them back. And so while it was a very abrupt plan, nonetheless, we did manage to recover 2 of them. I don't know where the rest are being kept yet, or we'd be forming another group. But these are, as far as I can tell, mostly Bonar. There has to be some glasswalkers, Shadowwoods. They roam in, as far as I can tell, the equivalent of biker gangs. And they have been watching and listening well enough to know who I was without having ever met me, to know me by name, and to single me out among others. I wasn't the only one singled out. But they smashed our properties, they tagged our properties and our people, and I still have 2 glassworkers missing. They also got into the Guardian network. There's been a lot of damage control done. But we still need to find the remaining kinfolk and find the Gru we've lost. And chase them the hell off our territory. I'm not usually one for extremes, but she finally just shakes her head. They opened her neck right in front of me. It's not a Gaian thing to do.
No, it is not. And you can see Sylvie's jaw clench tighter hearing this.
So, that is the most current issue. Do not leave Sept without telling anyone where you're going. Don't wander the city alone. Admittedly, they may not know about you yet. We've taken lengths to secure our people, to secure our modes of communication, but I don't know if they have eyes here. I don't know if they have ears here. She kind of splays the hands. So there's no guarantee that they don't know you and Raimi are here and newly acquired members of Sept for all that you've only been here a day. I wouldn't risk it. Especially, she kind of makes a little bit of an all-around gesture with the finger at Sylvie, especially in light of your having fairly strong indications of tribe. I could pick it out of a
Yes.
crowd. And even if they thought you were a kinfolk, it's not good. They don't move singly. She tips out another finger. There's what's happening north of the city and at the docks, which, truth be told, I don't have the authority to speak on. I'm not a Theurge, and I am poorly attuned to the Umbra at best.
No, right?
She thinks for a moment, kind of runs the handbag through her hair. Like, you can tell she's trying to, like, just kind of comb thoughts out of her head. There are other. She kind of waves a hand idly, dismissively. Companies, issues, and whatnot, but I dare say they're kind of above your pay grade. Not something you need to worry about, or not something that's an immediate threat. But between the spirals and these raiders, it is not safe for Cleith to be walking alone. Not out there. Concept, you're fine. But even I haven't been going home.
I will keep that in mind. Thank you for the warning, Charlotte.
Nods.
I suppose if I see Raimi before you do, I will also inform him.
Please do.
He was talking about possibly doing some sightseeing stuff.
Just kind of a wince. There will be times when we can better accommodate for it, but now is not the time. I don't know that they'd be there or they'd care, but best not to get cut out alone. They can and will kill or take. And I'll give you this for free. I won't make you roll peony for it. The more she kind of gets into the like rote recitation of, threats and all that, she hits kind of a comfortably disconnected vibe. Just emotionally, she just kind of puts all of that back in a box and talks about the facts because that is just easier. Or perhaps it's a glasswalker thing. There's no real telling, but whatever the case, she kind of has disconnected from the issue. Talking about, losing her packmate. You'd expect her probably to get a little more fussed up about it, but no, she just so collected. As she recites data. In the meantime, until you do get sent on a mission, she kind of nods towards the house on the lakeside. That's Lily, Leaf, and Maria's home. Ravens of the Lost. She starts just beginning to point out, listing off members of packs and where they're staying, and mentioning things like, pardon as I scroll around wildly. I have way too many of these little drop downs open and I'm dying inside. So give me just 1 second. And yeah, just begins pointing out that's where the Ravens of the Lost stay. The Broken Snow are probably staying there. The Wild's Fang will be in the woods, listing off members. The wardens of Shadow and Dawn have been staying on Sept and probably keeping to the public housing. Again, she just ticks off mentioning Ragnar and Bones in that particular group. They're probably the freshest and youngest of the packs. All Cleiths. Cora and Damon are from the last batch of cubs. Jeremy, Ragnar, and Bones will travel to the Sept. And she will, just kind of go down the list. She'll point out where the lawless are staying and probably suggest that Sophie give them space unless she has a reason to be there. They're a little bit on the, a little bit territorial. She doesn't make it sound like a hyper aggression thing. Just they're a little territorial. Have a reason if you're going to walk onto their area. But yeah, just kind of gives her the lowdown of who's who. She does not, however, provide any of the connections as far as who is friends with who is opposing who, any of that. She wants to see Sylvie fill that in herself. Probably watching, like glancing over periodically to watch her little brain kind of tick away, see how her expression shifts, how thoughtful she gets as various names are flying.
She'll nod along.
And just because she can't be sure it's been done yet, she will go down the list of the various positioned elders on Sept. She will study her, however, when she mentions Skyripper. Just to see if there's a reaction.
How does she mention Skyripper?
Much the same way that she mentions any of the other members of, like, positioned members of Sept. She gives the various information, says that he's a Silverfang, etc., and that he's the Wormfoe.
So there's a little bit of an eyebrow raise. Like, oh, he's the Wormfoe.
Yes, he earned the position from. God damn it. I always want to say his name wrong, so 1 second. I always want to say it wrong. Oh, I actually had it this time. Earned the position from Shadow's Web only a few months ago.
I see. Well, I guess Falcon's eyes will still be watching me. In some form or another.
Well, there's always someone somewhere. There's Charles, too. Kind of quirks a smile. And Hanging Talon, the Master of Challenge.
Sylvie will nod.
What does it say? I can't remember if he's Gleaming Eye or not, so I am not going to say it because I don't see it on his info. But yeah, Jewel mentioned that Charles is a Silverfang and is a member of Abel's pack. We'll mention that the Master of Challenges is also a Silverfang. Then we'll give his name, though she does confess the deed name. For all that they're an odd add-on for a Silverfang to have.
Well, that certainly will make things interesting.
Well, if it wasn't interesting, it'd be boring.
Indeed it would.
Oh, we've got a proper bevy of what kind of ticks on our fingers. 4 cups now, I think. She kind of points after where the little meat car went. The little blonde was one of them.
Ah.
She's been fostered under Maria. Pardon, under Maria Strauss. Oh, it's Banshee Siren. Or not. Oh, just Lynch. Scandalous. Wonder if it's supposed to be Lynch Krause and he just ran out of room. She says Lynch Krause, goddammit.
Maria Lynch Krause. Well, that's a treat.
She offers kind of a shrug. It seems to be what the Fianna do. I know when Damon changed, Mark of Thorns was ecstatically ready to foster him. Oh, but yes, that is roughly the situation, at least territorially, as far as who you can expect to see. There are forays being made into the city, but unless you make yourself known, I don't know that you'll be asked. Possible. So if you want to be an up and comer, he kind of grins. That puts your name out there.
I will do so. Thank you for filling in the gaps in my knowledge.
Seems almost unfair to leave you wandering without it.
I do appreciate it.
It is nice to know when you need to turn a chin up and when you need to just kiss the ground and call it good. Kind of
Yes.
smirking as she finally starts to pull herself up again.
Bow with a turn of the chin is usually appropriate on first greeting if you take appropriate action once you know you need to.
No. And in case no one gave you the heads up, the rights master is Lupus.
Lily mentioned that.
Good.
So I expect I will be operating with a set of etiquette I don't often get the chance to use.
Very possibly so.
I'm glad I learned it. Well, I think I've taken enough of your time as it is, Freya. Thank you for the sports drink.
You're very welcome.
I will go set about seeing where I'm needed and what I can be doing.
Very good idea. Like I said, I look forward to seeing how you adapt.
And there will be a polite bow from Sylvie as she stands and again backs away before turning and walking off.
And with that, Charlotte will probably pop up and actually just sit on top of the picnic table and finish her Gatorade and take a minute because her hobby has been bogarted by her fiance and his merry band of bank robbers. Ugh. So for now, I think we can call it a scene. Thank you, player, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. And thank you, Torna, for your brief intervention. Until next time.